You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curlop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with, no, not Allie, but Mr. Chad the Dad Rocke. What's up, Chad?
What's up, Craig? Super excited. It's going to be great.
Yeah, man. Super excited to have you on board as kind of the interim, maybe full-time co-host, right? It's funny. We're saying this whole episode is going to be about the power of saying no. And it's like doubly ironic right now because your last episode was the power of saying yes, which if you want to hear Chad's full story, make sure you go listen to episode 135. We're not going to dive deep into the beginning. We're not going to do the for real deal on this episode. We already did that in episode 135. But the irony there is Chad has actually started to say no to a lot of things here in the last few months. But it's funny because you're saying yes to the podcast. And then your last episode was the power of saying yes.
Little ironic.
Yeah, it's ironic, but I think there's going to be some depth and some meaning behind it, which we're going to get into here shortly. So, Chad, first off, why don't you just give us a quick glance over, as to how you got into real estate and all that, just as a refresher. No details. We're going to leave the details back to the other episode, but just give us the 3 to 5 minute pitch from 2015 to whatever your life before real estate into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Past career life was mutual fund sales. Bought a duplex. I'm from Wisconsin. Bought a duplex in 2015. Had no idea about bigger pockets, investing. My brother tried to talk me out of buying it. He said tenants are terrible. But to me, it made a lot of sense of buying a house rather than renting. And then it made a lot of sense to buy a duplex where someone else can help pay the rent. And I was like, why haven't I heard about this before? And I was kind of mad at myself. I didn't start earlier. But pulled the trigger, bought a duplex. The rent was, I was getting $1,300 in income. My mortgage was $1,400. And that's what stuck to me of I need to figure this thing out more. 2016, moved to San Diego, was doing mutual fund sales there, renting. 2020, moved to Denver. Basically, the month after I got here, I was let go. They outsourced the sales team, got connected with Craig on Bigger Pockets originally to buy a house because I saw that duplex. I was like, I want to buy another investment property in Denver. Talked to Craig when I had the job. Then I lost the job. And Craig was like, well, you can't really buy a house now. You don't have a job. You want to join the team? I was like, I don't really know anything about real estate besides owning a duplex, but I'll give it a shot. So if I don't learn any, or if I don't make any money, I'll learn something. I'll get connections with contractors and lenders and learn strategy. And if I need to go back to a W-2, then so be it. And then kind of the rest is history from that point.
Did you not buy a house? I thought you bought a house with somebody else. Did you not do that? You just didn't buy it all?
Oh, I did buy a primary. So I bought a primary in moving here. At that point in time, I didn't know.
You have to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, did buy a primary in 2020, right when we moved. I had the job at that point. Did not house hack. And then, joined the team, hit the ground running, just was loving it. Got some leads in, got some referrals in. Became the lead agent on the team shortly after that. And then, I tried to make this really quick. Basically partnered up with several different people, was able to acquire 5 short-term rentals in Denver. We went down to Phoenix, Arizona and did Airbnb arbitrage. And then, that was pretty much, I think, where we left off from the last episode.
Okay, cool. So just kind of and that's a pretty good recap, right? Again, we don't want to dive into stuff we've already talked about, but I think his last episode was all about the power of saying yes. And so he said yes to an opportunity that he had no idea what was going to happen. Like he had nothing to do with real estate before, except he bought a duplex, 5 years ago. And he said yes, and the opportunity ended up working out and manifested into him getting a leadership role and being a lead agent within the team. And I think it's fun when you're starting and building something from the beginning, because if you can join something from the beginning, you tend to have a lot more, there's a little bit more risk in that it won't work out. But if it does work out and you're able to make that happen from the beginning, you're able to have opportunities that other people aren't allowed to have, right? Chad is the most tenured person on the team, is the dude I trust the most in the team. And so when an opportunity comes, like one that I need to make sure that someone is trusted, it's going to be Chad. And so if you guys find those opportunities to partner with somebody that's early on, that has some momentum, that you think isn't going to fail, make sure you go ahead and take that. And so that's like the yes. And that was the power of saying yes to all those things. And then the arbitrage, he said yes to the arbitrage. And that was another fish or another reel he casted, or another whatever, because like maybe he wasn't 100% sure of the real estate thing. Maybe he didn't want to do that forever. So he was trying this other strategy that people heard maybe worked, scaled that. And then, of course, I suspect something happened. So Chad, like you had these two kind of things happen. You had real estate agent that got really busy. You had being an arbitragist. And so like you had these two things going. So like what kind of happened? Like what shifted? And
Yeah. I can kind of like, that's a good way to put it. That's what I explain to buyers I work with and just kind of people I talk to. But I have like these two different worlds. I kind of separate them of like real estate agent life, and then like investing personal portfolio life. It's great because they overlap. Like I can use my personal portfolio examples and learning lessons, and it translates to helping buyers. So it's a really great aspect of it. But I think I overextended myself just a little bit, I would say. In 2022 was insane, of getting like 4 properties in Denver. And then in the late 2022, well, I did a subject to deal with my aunt. That was pretty easy. But the big project was the arbitrage. And so we went to Phoenix, Arizona. We got 8 units, furnished them all. So managing the other units in Denver, being the agent, and was really busy with that. And then taking on this other project on Instagram. You hear all these big the gurus and make it look easy. And my business partner in that venture bought a course, and we ran our numbers, and we're like, all right, we should be making like $8,000 a month. Split it up 3 ways. Let's do it. It didn't pan out. Way too much competition, essentially. Way too much supply. Everybody did what we did, and made a business decision late last year. So we had it for about a year, that our leases were up in May of this year, 24. So it was either like, all right, let's cut our losses and move on, or we wait to May, and then we're stuck with like $60,000 of furniture. We need to go down there. Like, what do we do with this? So we cut our losses, sold the business. Now we're out of it. Like, thankfully.
What did you sell the business for?
A loss. It was like, cut our losses it was like 30 grand or something. We had some credit card debt, and we had some, the furniture, but we just like got out of our leases. We sold the actual business, and we sold like the Airbnb account to someone.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important thing to recognize too, is that like you and I've said this before, like you have to zig when everybody else is zagging. And like the gurus that are making millions and millions and selling courses and all that, you are not going to have the same success as them, right? They had their success because they thought of something that no one else did. It was unique. It was cool. They did it. They perfected it. And now they're trying to teach you the same exact way. So they're inherently just increasing competition, increasing supply, decreasing price, making it harder, making it, and so like when competition floods the market, typically a lot of people it just doesn't work out anymore. And I think that's the same thing that's happening right now. I feel like the flavor of the year is the like subject to. I think business buying is getting to that point. I think like any of these gurus that are popping up, again, I'm just like, nah, I'm not doing that strategy. Everyone's going to start doing it. Like, know the strategy. If the opportunity arises, you should take advantage of it. But to have a whole business and like tens of thousands of dollars invested into a business dedicated on that, I think you learned your lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, I live by like you gotta take some risks in life to get ahead, calculated risks, and we were confident at the time, and we partnered up to mitigate that risk a little bit between three people versus one. But I tried it, didn't work. Got out of it before the really bad. Like if just stuck with it and move on to the next thing. So
Yeah, it takes a piece of humble pie. You got to swallow that piece of humble pie sometimes, like as a business owner, where it's like you probably told your wife a million times, like it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work. And you told everybody you knew a million times it's going to work. And then you're like, oh, shoot, it didn't work. And
yeah,
so, I think like it's almost more courageous to actually shut it down and just be like, yeah, you guys were right, than to, to just keep perpetuating a bad situation. And so, like, I was just kind of curious, like, were you actually losing money or were you just not gaining as much as you wanted to with the work given?
yeah. So the way we funded this is with what's called credit card stacking. Essentially, business credit, 0% interest. It's very powerful. It can be a good thing. It also can be a risky thing. And so what happened is that we launched in November of 22. December through May was very profitable. Super Bowl was there. January, I think we netted like 20,000, February, like 20,000. And so we were paying off this debt, which we got down to like basically near flat. Like we maybe had like 10K left or something. But then it hit summer. Phoenix Airbnb like market is dead in the summer, busy in the winter. Opposite of Denver was one reason we went there, to kind of diversify. And starting in May, June, July, August, we were losing like 10K a month. And so that credit card bill just climbed back up. So I saw this circle of, all right, come January this year, we'll probably get it back down. It's going to go back up. There was never a point where I saw the end was near. It was just a circle. So winters were good. Summers were worse than we thought going into it because that supply picked up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's smart. And so, like, obviously, you've got furniture. You've got. I mean, it's like it sounds like a headache to sell a furniture rental business, or like to just like to at least to unwind it.
Yeah, when I was going through this, I was like posting on Facebook, and there was a lot of other people in their same boat, and they were like having, come to our unit. We're selling all this furniture for like pennies on the dollar. Like take it all. Like people couldn't even give it away because everybody was doing that too. So the supply of the furniture was through the roof.
So like, how did you end up like, and it sounds like you just sold the business, sold the listing, just sold it. Like, is there a marketplace for that kind of stuff or?
Yeah, good question. So I put it out on Facebook, essentially joined all these like Arizona, Airbnb, arbitrage groups, like a ton of them, made a posting of, hey, we got this business, looking to sell it. It was very difficult because we weren't really profitable. And so who wants to buy a profitable business, like an unprofitable business? But one guy, he had, I don't know, like 40 other doors. He thought he could make it work. I got a lawyer to draw up like a contract essentially. And he just paid us. We wrote the contract up. He paid us, and then there was work together. But we just gave him our login information for Airbnb. He just took it over, kept the reviews. That was pretty much it. It was a little complicated, but within like 2-3 weeks, having a lawyer involved, signed off, and now he's responsible for. I mean, it's called Upscale Holdings. Like we just sold Upscale Holdings with furniture, access, leases, Airbnb, the whole 9 yards.
And what are the like, and so like in your leases with the owners and stuff, you had that in place, like if you were to sell a business, or you just kind of like.
We just kind of did it. I mean, I told them and they were fine with it. Like, hey, we're looking to sell it. Like this is the new owner. They didn't really care.
Okay. Fair enough. And then one last question on this is were the lawyers expensive?
It was like $1,500. It was actually in Wyoming because we're organized, or Upscale is organized in Wyoming. And so it was a lawyer in Wyoming. That was another interesting too. I called around to like 25 lawyers. None of them wanted to do this for some reason, but this one guy said yes. I mean, that's, I guess, another lesson of just keep calling. But found one guy, and yeah, he drew it up. It was like $1,500.
Perfect. Awesome, man. So, I mean, that's like big news, right? And so you were doing that. You were growing your real estate agent business, right? And so, like, how was that going for you in 2022? Did you find your agent business lacking with the arbitrage, or no?
Yeah, there was with all 3 buckets of the personal portfolio life of the including arbitrage and the units in Denver, the real estate agent life, and then the family life. There wasn't much time left. It was there's a lot going on. I don't think. I mean, the family life is probably the one that suffered the most of the three. And that's when I realized, like, I want to do less. Like, the agent life is the moneymaker. Like, the personal portfolio life is long-term thinking, the appreciation. Like, we don't really take profits. It's just putting it back into the properties to buy another one, or saving up, or building that expense account up. Really don't make any money from that as of today. But that's like the future. Today's is the agent life, and that's where, like, the focus I want to have of being able to build up some more reserves and yada yada yada. So that's where I was like, all right, less hands-on property management, arbitrage type stuff, outsource that, and more focus on family and agent.
Yeah, and so I think that's like important, right? Like, again, in your last episode, you're talking say yes, say yes, say yes, right? And so you start kind of going down all these different paths all at the same time. And I think Brandon Turner talks about this, where it's like, if you're on one side of the river and your goal is to cross the river, you need to build a bridge to get there. And so you can build multiple different bridges, but if you build 4 bridges, it's going to take you 4 times as long to get there, but you still don't know which one is going to go up the fastest. And so, Chad started building, agent bridge. He started building arbitrage bridge. He started building Denver, Arizona, whatever. Like, you had all these different bridges kind of going in one direction. And then you figured out, oh, the agent bridge is the fastest bridge. Stop construction on the other 3 bridges. They're not needed anymore. Let's just go agent all out. And then, of course, family is just your rock that's with you the whole time. No giving that up. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, like, I know you had a daughter at some point in this journey.
Yeah, Olive.
How does that layer in?
Yeah, so Olive was born September of 21. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly when, like, this all kind of started. So that was definitely a part of that family. Like, I mean, juggling things and figuring it out. I mean, credit to my wife. She's a tremendous asset when it comes to helping with Olive. And so, yeah, it's just kind of another layer. I guess that comes back to, like, I would say the first 9 months to a year, like Olive, like, baby life. They eat, they sleep, a lot of mom time. But after that year point, so 22, the end of 22 till today, like, much more. Like, I want to have that time with her. It's as everybody says, like, it's cherished. Like, they're only young so long, time flies. What everybody always says, which is true, and it's just cool to see, spend more time with her and see her grow and interact. And now she's, like, putting full sentences together. And so that was part of that decision of, like, less of the stuff that doesn't necessarily really matter nor really helping me get anywhere. And more focus on, like, the 2 things, family and agent life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome. And so that kind of transitions into, like, almost kind of like where you're at today, right? And you said yes to a lot of different things, right? You said yes to being the lead agent on the team, right? That's a little bit of a time commitment, I have to imagine.
Yeah. No, that, and I guess I put that in the agent life bucket, which that's the good bucket of. That's the thing that I really enjoy and doing. So, yeah, there's a time commitment there. Of I really do enjoy helping out newer agents, guiding them. Just talking through things, like, Craig, as an agent, like, weird situations come up all the time. What one good and bad thing about the life of, like, this. Today is not the same as yesterday. Everything's always new. But yeah, there is, there could be days where I get 5 phone calls just from agents, and I'm like, this is crazy. But then there's, like, days where I don't get any. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy those conversations, and I can learn from them too, because, that situation hasn't come up yet for me. It probably will. And now that I'm talking to them, I can use that for me going forward. So I see the big benefit of it. I enjoy it. And that's part of that agent life that is going well.
Yeah, and I think kind of what I'm gathering here is that you can still say yes to opportunities as long as they're like somewhat synergistic as to the main thing, right? I've kind of realized this in the past too, where it's like, at one time I was a real estate agent. I worked at Bigger Pockets. I was renting my car out on Turo, and I had investment properties. So like that's a lot of different buckets, and they don't overlap all that much, except the agent and the investment property thing. So I left my job at Bigger Pockets. I then um, and I stopped doing Toro, and I only did real estate agent and properties because those actually like synergize with each other. And now the only time that I'm going to say yes to a business opportunity is if it's synergistic to my real estate company, right? The FI team. And so like buying rental properties, that is something that is synergistic, right? Because I'm learning, and the stuff that I learn from buying property myself, I'm able to inspire and help other people. The property management company that we're starting to create, which is Rent by the Room, directly correlated. We're able to help the same exact people buy the house as we are to help them. We've got better numbers on the analysis, and then we can help them manage the house. And so very synergistic, right? And so I think going forward, you get to a place of like, you've said yes to something, you've committed to some avenue in life. Now you got to start saying no to all these other things, which is the only time where I'm like at Bigger Pockets conference, for example, like that's when I can't even go into the speakers anymore because I get such shiny object syndrome. I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. But all of that is very like Bigger Pockets Con is BPCon is amazing, right? It's great. And I love going there just for the people. But at this point in my career, and probably in your career, Chad, like you're not going to go sit in on the talks because it's going to hurt you more than help you, because you're going to start wanting to go down these different avenues because you've seen other people achieve success, and it's just it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
So awesome, man. So now we got you kind of all caught up. Is there anything else that has happened in the past, year, half year?
Yeah, I think where we left off in episode 135, I was still living in my primary house, just me, Megan, Olive. And then July of this year, we moved and we bought our next primary. So yeah, I can just kind of touch on that scenario. So we kept our house in Aurora, of course, and that's a long-term rental. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath. Thought was originally to add a bedroom in the basement to make it a 5-3. Start and do rent by the room. Started to run the numbers, and I'm all about, when you're renting by the room, getting ahead of the conflicts. And so having the soft goods of toilet paper, paper towel, having a cleaner, like having all these, which could be more expenses, but it gets in front of conflicts better. So after analyzing that, it didn't make sense to me to do rent by the room, versus a long-term rental. And so we put it up as a long-term rental. I was shocked of how much we were able to get. We started it at, what was it? Well, I think we started at 3,600. We ended up getting 3,500 a month
For the bottom?
No, so it's a full house.
Oh, for the house.
It's a 4-2. Yeah. So it's there's no split. Yeah. My past house. So it's a full house 4-2. And these guys, they're like Brazilian, and they came here because they're doing, we had so much hail earlier this year, and they do car hail dent repair, and they're making like money hand over fist. And they just wanted a house for the two of them, I guess. But yeah, so we were getting 3,500, and we left. One reason why I think we were able to get that much is because we left the stuff that we didn't necessarily need or want. So we left like 2 beds, we left like kitchen supplies, a couple couches, TVs. Like I would call it 75% furnished, and that's what these guys were looking for. So that's one reason why I think we got a little bit more than I thought. But our mortgage is 2,100, and we're getting 35, so that was awesome. Thought about doing property manager, but ended up just taking that on. Like it's been very easy. Get them in, they pay it, and that's about it. So we've been just self-managing that one.
Who's paying the utilities on that one? Is it you or them?
Them.
Okay, so 3,500, and you're pretty clear. I mean, it's just some okay. So that's like one of those examples where, I mean, if you did rent by room, I'm gonna still say you probably could have got more than that. But is the elevated stress of rent by the room plus you're gonna want property management plus paying for some other additional stuff. Is that worth the extra couple $100 a month?
That's where I said no. Yeah. And the other thing was adding the bedroom and the basement plus egress window. Like that would have been, a $10,000 job probably with the egress window and the finishing of it and closing it off, yada, yada, yada. So I just didn't see the added benefit of, like you said, a couple $100. It wasn't worth it. And like the less stress and easy peasy. So at some point down the road, maybe, but it worked. It worked that way.
Totally. Love it, man. So tell us about this new house you got.
Yeah. So then kind of a crazy story with this one. So my wife and I were looking for a little bit, nothing crazy, maybe like 2-3 months. We looked at a house in a neighborhood. So this is in Centennial, so kind of south of Denver. We looked at a house, really liked it. It went quick, over asking. And I remember going back home and Megan was like, oh, like, what about this house? It was right down the street. She loves this neighborhood. So she was like scouring this neighborhood. And there's a house popped up and it was on the market for like 320 days, essentially. And I was like, I have never seen a house on the market more than 100 days, let alone 300. Like, what is going on? And so we went to look at it, really liked it. The setup worked because we were planning to house hack it. So we live upstairs and we needed a separate entrance. We needed a room for the basement to add a kitchen, bedroom. Come to find out, it was a divorce situation. They listed it in August of 22, which was the worst time to list it, basically. At that point, rates had gone up to like 8 from 4 in 4 months. And so they listed it at like 800, which were the prices 4 months ago, but they missed the boat. They were too late. And I've gathered that it was very messy divorce. So there was some conflict probably here. And it sat and sat and sat, and they dropped the price. And it was all the way down to like $699. We ended up getting it at $675 with $20K concessions plus my agent commission. So we basically bought it for like nothing out of pocket, and got it like $150,000 less than what it was listed at. So, and the setup was good. So we put in a kitchen, we added a bedroom, and now we rent it to 2 rooms downstairs, like fully furnished bedrooms. I started out listing it as like a 2-1, a fully furnished 2-1. Put it on Zillow, Airbnb, it was just all over the place, all the different Facebook, and weren't really getting the hits that we thought we were going to get. Take a little bit longer. I saw a guy who posted, he's like, I'm looking for a room. So like, okay, I'm familiar with rent by the room. Like maybe we switch it over. He looked at it, he's like, yeah, I like it. I'm like, okay, let's just do rent by the room instead. I switched the listing from like a 2-1 to a bedroom, and I had 45 inquiries in 24 hours, and I had it filled 24 hours after that, which was like the power of, or just rent by the room was alive and well, is kind of what I was saying. Like it's not gone. And so we're getting $975 for one room and $925 for the other room. So $950 average.
And these are basements. So they're living below you and your daughter that's kicking and screaming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a big factor and worry for me. And the hardwood floors, they're not great. Like they squeak. The way I looked at it and approached it was like, you gotta address that up front. And so this is what you're getting. You will hear footsteps. We have a dog too. Like you'll hear a dog walking around. We have a 2-year-old. You will hear crying and running. If you don't like it, it's not the place for you. And they like, okay, that's fine. And they haven't complained. And everything's been like, these are like the 2 best guys. You couldn't ask for anything better. Like just really nice younger guys. They don't complain about anything. They go to work, they come home, they go to the gym, they go to the mountains. That's pretty much it. And they pay on time. Yeah. So it's working out perfect.
That's great. Yeah. So I think it's funny, right? When people say they've got kids or they've got dogs or there's no way anybody would want to live below them. It's like, that's not true. Like you may not want to live below you, but it doesn't mean someone else isn't willing to live below you. And you don't know what their standards are. And so for $900 a month, it sounds like they've got a nice place. Centennial is a really nice place to live. And so they're probably getting a good deal. They're getting a really nice home in a great neighborhood. And the fact of the matter is that in Denver County and in the Metro Denver, you can't get a nice place to live and a nice house in a nice area for $950 a month. So unless you have a little bit of a compromise. And so I think that's awesome that you were able to recognize that and you did it anyway. And amazing that, it sounds like they're not probably paying for your full mortgage, because I know what the rates were at in July, August of 2023. But how does that kind of work for you now?
Yeah. It basically cuts it in half. So our mortgage, well, almost, our mortgage is 4,300. And so they're paying, $950. So was it 1,900? So a large chunk, 40% or so of it, which basically is the same thing we were paying. The way I looked at it is like, okay, if we could pay the same thing we were previously, but now we're getting $1,300 of income from that house, moved to this house, and upgraded the house, but paying the same, plus getting the 1,300. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of house hacking and getting multiple houses.
Yeah, because your first house is helping you pay for your second house or whatever that is, right? And so, I mean, you can use that. The great thing is, like, you can use that income any way you want, right? And you're kind of like moving into that like luxury house hacking territory where you put the needs of the house and your family's needs first, and the money is just like an extra thing. That's what we're doing up here in Idaho. That's what you're doing now, and I think that's ultimately where people want to get to. And eventually, maybe you don't need to house hack at all, right? Maybe you have some more kids coming around.
That probably is the plan for the next one. We will probably stay here either late this year or early next year. I did kind of forget. I always tell clients and talk about how, like, the only issue with house hacking, especially if you do kind of this nomad strategy where you just live in it, pay the rent, and then you move out. The only downside is you have to move. I think I underestimated the actually have to move part, even though I still do find it like 100% worth it at the end of the day. But moving does suck. But so it might be end of 24, beginning of 25. Look to get our next primary, keep this one. We have options of, we could full house, we could rent Airbnb the full house. We have 2 different separate units. You could rent by the room. Not set on one strategy yet, but the options are there.
And it's important that you've got that when you buy a house, you've got those multiple exit strategies, which is even more important. That's why you've got an investor-friendly realtor on your side that can kind of help you see those different strategies. Because if you're buying a one-trick pony, if that one-trick pony breaks its leg, then you're not going to be able to do anything, right? Awesome, man. So, I mean, a lot has happened even less than a year ago since you're actually a guest on the show. And it's kind of crazy to kind of see where you're at now. And just, unwinding the business, getting another house hack, kind of double and tripling down on your agent side of things, and obviously getting more time out for the family. So I commend you for, I think we've all maybe swallowed a piece of humble pie in this past year. You've had to change some things, do some things a bit differently, rather than when the market is booming, everyone looks like a winner. So, yeah, man, I just want to say congrats to all your success. We are super, super pumped to have you on the show. And yeah, man, anything else that you want to add? I think we did the Final Four like a year ago. I don't think we need to do that again today. We'll just have a little bit of a shortened episode this time around, and we're looking forward to bringing on Nor and Mike for your first guest appearance, which will air next week.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess I just want to say super excited to be doing the co-hosting with you, Craig. I think most excited part is just to be able to bring the guests on and be able to hear different stories and learn from different folks of different strategies. Hopefully it doesn't entice the yes to come out, but the more knowledge you have, the better. And so I'm excited to be doing this with you, and I look forward to it.
Yeah. And well, now you've got us and all the listeners keeping you accountable to say no to anything that doesn't directly impact in a good way your agent business or your family.
I like that. I appreciate that too. Yeah, I need it.
That's what we're here for, man. All right, dude. Well, it's always good catching up with you. There's obviously going to be more of us hanging out in the very near future. So looking forward to having you on, man. Otherwise, you can, where can people follow you, Chad?
Yeah, on Instagram, Rocky the Realtor. I also LinkedIn, have a little bit of presence there as well. So just if you're on LinkedIn, I post some stuff out there. Just Chad Rocke, Rocke on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Chad, thanks so much, man. If you guys aren't following me yet, make sure you give the Fi Guy a follow on Instagram as well. Give this show a 5-star rating and review. Let us know how much you love it. And we will talk to you all very, very soon. See y'all next week.
Yep.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.